We're ready to go live on another of our Executive Warrior Biohacked Diet Playbook series. We're going to kick off with an awesome module. First module, let me switch over so you can see me. And let me stop this racket going on in the background. I do like the music, but just, technology, trying to stop it, it's harder than starting. Okay. Welcome to another module. We're going to get started into biohacking your executive warrior diet, right? Remember what the goal is. The goal is to help you become effortlessly productive. So you're producing more because we're amplifying you. We're increasing the leverage you have and amplifying everything that you can do and achieve, right? It's the ultimate investment in your performance when you upgrade yourself. Okay, so let's get started. What we're going to cover in this first play. In the first play of the Executive Warriors Biohacked Diet is about starting cyclical fasting. So you may have heard of fasting already, right? I'm sure if you look into the diet, there will be a lot of people claiming all kinds of stuff on fasting. It's not new. In fact, fasting is quite an ancient practice. Almost every single religion in the world, every single culture has some kind of fasting process or fasting in their way of life, right? You have to think about why is that? Why is that every single culture, every single religion have some kind of fasting in their ancient practices? Probably there's something to it, right? And that is why there's so much science and research into the benefit of fasting, because we have a lot of history. People once about time do it, probably help them with mental clarity, enlightenment, right, as they call it. And they may do it because it makes them feel good. That's why we do it. But today, with science has shown that there's so much more to fasting other than those benefits that you see from ancient practices. And before you dismiss it and say, remember, I talked about the mindset for learning. It's ancient practice, so it's not new, right? But what if I say you're already doing it every day? You're already doing it. Unless you're one of those people who eat a meal in your sleep. I'm not sure if you're one of those rare individuals who do that, but if you do sleep, it means you're fasting every day, right? Fasting is basically something we already do. We do that every time we go to bed. And in fact, before industrialization, people didn't used to eat breakfast in the morning. That's a modern day invention. There's a video you can go look up to. Today I found out. It's a channel with a lot of research and interesting information, but there's one particular episode on the origin of breakfast cereal, right? And it's fascinating. I didn't know this before, but apparently granola was invented to help people who eat too much meat and therefore have this insatiable urge to masturbate. So it's really there to suppress your testosterone, to suppress your sinful desires, and was given to people in the sanitarium to cure them from bad habits like that. Okay, so that's the original breakfast. People didn't used to do that, eat that in the morning. It was big food that made it popular to eat breakfast in the morning. Thousands of years ago, majority of the world civilization eat their first meal after lunchtime. Okay, so think about how much we're being indoctrinated by big food, right? They want us to think you have to eat food in the morning, but breakfast has nothing to do with it in the morning. It literally means to break your fast. Break fast. Breakfast. Nothing to do in the morning. The first meal of the day is your breakfast, and breakfast doesn't have to be in the morning. And majority of us already doing fasting. I hope that gives you some insight about fasting to make it less foreign. That's a word. I'm trying to make it more familiar to you because it's not really new. All we're doing is putting it in a bit of structure and a bit of process. Okay, but that is really important for high performance. And remember the CITL principles of the executive warrior diet. We are talking about cyclical indulgence, it has to be tailored, it has to be a lifestyle. But specifically, we're focusing on the cyclical element, and that's the fasting. But we're also going to talk about tailoring, right? There's no one fasting format that suits everyone. It needs to be tailored, and it really should become part of your lifestyle, not something you just do for a month and then therefore you stop doing it for 5 years and you come back to it. It needs to be lifestyle. Fasting is the number one way to supercharge your performance. It is that important. That's why we're talking about it. What's the science? What does the science say? Okay, fasting reduces inflammation. There's a 29-day trial involving 20 men and women fasting 15.5 hours every day. It demonstrated a significant reduction in inflammatory markers, NLR, neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, and PLR, platelet to lymphocyte ration, and high sensitivity C-reactive protein. These are all inflammatory markers. If you come across my material before, you will know that when you have inflammation, you feel tired, you feel weak, you have brain fog, you have trouble focusing, and it will, in the longer term, it will lead to all kinds of chronic illnesses like cancer, arthritis, autoimmune. It's not good to have bad chronic long-term inflammation. In fasting, it's a great way to reduce that. Okay, fasting actually trains metabolic flexibility and give you endless energy with no craving. When it's a form of training, when you actually fast, you actually teaching your body how to burn fat for energy. Your glycogen, which is your carbohydrate store, you burn through that relatively quickly. And then what you've got? Nothing. Unless you learn how to burn fat. It's like turning your body to be a hybrid fuel car. You can burn both fat and sugar for energy elegantly, but you have to start by depleting your body of glycogen store so you can start to learn to force it to burn fat energy. And when you become more flexible, that is gaining metabolic flexibility, and that's a secret to endless energy that for you to perform. You actually got 10 times more fat store than carbohydrate store, and that's what it means, right? Imagine relying on something that only lasts for an hour before you run out of puff. You've got 10 times more energy to use for your day. Fasting helps you lose weight. It improves energy production. It improves your overall health, reduces chances of cancer. If people who go through cancer treatment, fasting reduces a lot of the side effect from chemotherapy. Things like nausea, weakness, things of that nature. That's a very common side effect, and fasting even helps in that aspect. Fasting improves autophagy, forces your body to clean up itself, right? Which prevents age-related brain decline, cancer, autoimmune. Anyway, I hope you see that fasting is a good thing. Go and look it up, do your own research, and you'll see what I mean. For the warrior, look, you might say, health, yeah, that's I'll think about that later. Well, warriors, you want mental clarity, don't you? You want better memory, you want focus, you want alertness, you want energy, you want to be productive, you want to free up time to work and play because you're not constantly hungry and eating all the time. You stop getting sick, you don't get any more cravings, you have good mood, stable mood, you feel good, you have stable focus, right? You can see this is not just about health, this is about performance when you do fasting. So what would you discover today? I'm going to show you some common fasting format as well as my recommendation of the best way to get started. We'll talk about how you can overcome common fasting challenges. And of course, every play results in action. I'm going to get you to take some actions. Okay, fasting format. Let me just take a sip of water here. Been speaking a lot just to moisturize my mouth. Okay, fasting format. All right. You can see there's a ton of different formats. There's the 16-8, right? And there's 24. These are classified as short fast. So shorter fasts are generally fasting that's less than 24 hours. It's very flexible, right? You can do a short fast, you can do a long fast, you can alternate. Remember, I talk about cycling as a principle of the executive warrior diet or method. It's just a common pattern, whether it's fitness or fasting. You don't want to stick with just one format. You can do a few short fasts, and you could once a month, you do a longer, perhaps 24-hour fast. Then you go back to a short fast. It's very flexible, and you need to try it to see what works for you. I do have my recommendations, don't worry, to get you started, but it's actually something that's highly adaptable. So the 16-8 is basically just, you fast for 16 hours and you eat in an 8-hour window. The most common way to achieve that is by skipping breakfast, because most people breakfast are not, it's considering the family connection and socialization typically happening in the evening. So if you do skip breakfast, it's not a big personal cost, very easy to adopt, right? So example, you can, for example, eat all your meals within 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. That's 8 hours, right? Just means skipping breakfast or delaying breakfast. You can think of I'm not skipping anything, I'm just delaying. So that's a Jedi mind trick to help you create change. Rather than feeling you're missing out, you're just delaying, right? So that requires no discipline. 24, you fast for 20 hours and you eat in a 4-hour window. That's a more extreme, intense version of fasting. And some people really, really thrive on that. It's also called like OMAD, or 1 meal per day format. Again, this is something that you need to tailor. Some people really thrive on 24. Some people feel miserable on 24. But 16-8 is, most people can do that quite easily and generally do very well on that. Longer term fast, so 24 hours fast, basically you just don't eat until the next day around the same time you start your meal, and you generally consume that meal in an hour eating window or two. The 5-2 fast was made famous by Dr. Michael Mosley. He popularized this variation of fasting in his book, The Fast Diet. And it's 5 regular eating days and 2 fasting days. Okay? So you eat normal meals, no restrictions, 5 days. But for 2 of those days, you restrict your calories to less than 500 on those days. Now, the way that Dr. Mosley proposes is this diet can be consumed anytime during the day. You can spread it out or eat it as a single meal. There's a 36-hour fast, which means fasting for the entire day. And then, so if you eat dinner on day 1, you'll fast for the entire day too and not eat until breakfast on day 3. So that's 36 hours. It's really powerful for weight loss. So if you've got a lot of weight, this is one that you might want to try. The temptation, so the benefit is that it avoids the temptation of overeating in dinner on day 2. Extended fasting beyond 2 days is used more for treatment. So if you're a diabetic, type 2 diabetic, this is a treatment that you can go on which require medical supervision. So do not do this on your own, but it's something that, if properly applied, has done amazing things for people who are type 2 diabetics. Some of these people are on $1,000 of insulin per month and just miserable, overweight, tired, no energy. And if you're interested in that, if you want that help, I recommend checking out Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. He is got a really good protocol for extended fasting, and because it needs to be medical supervised, because there might be micronutrient deficiency, and you probably want to do some things like taking collagen and stocks, soups and stuff like that to help you mitigate this downside. And also there's a high risk of what we call refeeding syndrome, because once you fast for long periods of time, your stomach literally kind of shrinks down and you can't eat as much. And if you put too much food back in one go, that's the refeeding syndrome, and that is not good. One thing you'll be interested in this fact that the world record for fasting is actually 382 days, right? So imagine that. And that's medically supervised, by the way. They're not eating for an entire year. So it's definitely possible we can do it. Just use the appropriate format. You can fast for 12 hours, and there's variations, right? 12, 12, 14, 10, 16, 8. I'm showing the variations. One thing I want to highlight on this slide is try not to eat 3 or more hours before bed. You'll know there's a big difference to your sleep quality. I promise you. Do try that. If you feel hungry, I've got strategies for dealing with hunger. But try not to have food 3 or more hours before bed. It dramatically improves the quality of your sleep. All right, so hot tip for you there. But see, you can use a variety of things. What do I recommend? What do you recommend, Steve? 16-8. The reason why I say 16-8 is because it's the most easy way to integrate fasting into your day, right? Imagine just eating in a window of 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and stop eating. That's not too difficult for majority of my clients to achieve. For those who are really antsy about not eating breakfast, all right, okay, well, in that case, let's delay your breakfast. Let's try 12-12. Okay, you start a little bit, just a little bit later. Do a 12-12 eating window. Okay, so you might eat, let's say, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's a 12-hour window. That is okay. That means you pretty much a full breakfast, but just don't snack. Make sure you don't snack. Don't eat all the time. Have your 3 main meals. But if you can, try to delay your breakfast later and later. You don't need to change what you eat. I want to emphasize, not now. I'm coaching you through the process. Focus too much at once is going to derail you. So forget about changing what you eat. We're going to cover that in later play. That is important. Just not now. Focus on creating a restricted feeding window. That's a technical term for fasting. And you will notice a significant difference to your performance. So 16-8 is what I recommend. Another thing that I do recommend to make fasting easier to adopt is to consume a fat coffee or tea, a fatty drink. Fat doesn't trigger the same insulin response or blood sugar spike as proteins or carbohydrate. So it's a great way for you to get majority of the benefit of fasting without feeling like you're fasting at all. Right? It's a really cool hack. And this is how I got started. This is how I got started fasting. And I still enjoy my fat coffee and tea. It's very, very simple. You might have heard of the term bulletproof coffee. That's what that is. Okay? It's basically a fatty drink that forces your body to burn fat for energy, but gives you that energy to last in the morning. Because a lot of my clients, when I talk to them about fasting, they worry about their energy in the morning. That wouldn't I just be hungry? What am I going to do? How am I going to focus? They get very stressed about it. And this is why I recommend have a fat coffee and tea instead. You feel awesome. You get energy to focus all day long. You feel great. I promise you, you won't think about food. At least not biologically. You might have mental things. Oh, maybe I should be eating. But that's much easier to control or to overcome than if your body is telling you don't have enough food. Right? So make your coffee, tea, very simple. Brew a cup, 8 to 12 ounces of coffee and tea. I highly recommend getting good quality coffee. It makes a difference. It tastes amazing for starters. use filtered water, and just follow the instruction. However you brew your coffee is fine. You can add some fat, and in this case, brain octane oil. That's a trademark oil, but it's what you call CA, capric acid. And you can buy other branded CA, which is MCT oil, which is derived from coconut. So just go to your health food store, ask for pure C8 MCT oil, and that's fine. Or you can just buy brain octane oil. Add a teaspoon to your drink, and add some grass-fed butter or ghee, and blend it up. Make sure you blend it, please. Don't have this fat on the top and try to drink it and tell me it tastes horrible. Of course, it's going to taste terrible, but do blend it. And then you've got this amazing, frothy, delicious, warm drink that will make you feel great in the morning, even though you're fasting. And you get all the benefit of developing metabolic flexibility, all the focus and concentration. And I can't recommend it high enough. Try it. Just be careful with C8, right? Start with 1 teaspoon. If you go too fast and you put 2 tablespoons of that, you're going to get what we call disaster pants. That's the professional speak when you cannot hold the food in your gut and you have to empty it out in an explosive manner, which is not good if your desire is to work. Okay, so start slow. Just 1 teaspoon C8, add some grass-fed butter or ghee, blend it with your favorite drink, and use that in the morning to replace your breakfast as a way to transition into a fasting window. So that is my hot tip. What other common challenges do people face when it comes to fasting? What if I'm hungry, right? I've already given you a tip. But is it a habit, or are you really hungry? We are so indoctrinated in eating breakfast as the first thing in the morning. It's like cultural, it's habitual. So wait 10 minutes. If you think you feel hungry, wait 10 minutes. And you realize that often than not, it's just your brain playing tricks on you because you've been programmed by big food to eat all the time. Wait 10 minutes and then decide if you really are hungry. Then you wait until you're really hungry, then you eat. Okay, so it's not about denial, just delaying. Denial, sorry, not denial, just delaying. Okay, or switch around. Delay, don't deny. Delay, don't deny. I think that's a better phrase. I'm going to share that with my clients. Delay, don't deny is the secret. Your fat drink, if that's not enough, if you're hungry, add some collagen or some prebiotic fiber, right? So prebiotic fiber are fiber that feeds your gut bacteria. And there's a whole host of benefits. I'm not going to go into that, but it's like stuff like organic acacia powder, guar gum, soluble fiber, large, I could never pronounce this word, arabinogalactan, all right? So I think I got that. To your fat booster drink, it will make it more satiating and you won't feel hungry anymore. What if you feel sick when you try fast, if you don't eat? There's this thing called the keto flu. If you seen any videos about keto, you'll see people suffer those symptoms, and that's caused by toxin release through lipolysis. When you start to burn fat, guess where your body stores chemicals that's in our environment, like fire retardant, smoke, carcinogen, things that's toxic. When you can't get rid of it fast enough because we're pumping so much chemicals into our body is smart. It stores it away in your fat cells, right? Get it out of the blood, store it away, pack it. Let's not touch it, right? Lock it away. As soon as you start burning fat for energy, those things, toxins that store in your fat, starts to get burnt, starts to get released in your bloodstream, and you may feel miserable. Okay, especially if you have mold infection, you live in a polluted environment. And here's what you can do: try activated charcoal, spirulina, chlorella, bentonite clay. These are what we call binders. they bind to the toxin that's in your gut to help you get rid of it, so it doesn't circulate in your blood. Okay, that's one way. You may want to talk to your doctor, okay, especially if you have been exposed to potentially heavy metals, mercury, lead, and you might need professional help with chelation therapy with EDTA or some other chelation agent. So talk to your doctor. If you really feel bad, maybe you want to do some hair sample analysis or organic acid test to determine if you're being exposed to something bad and therefore you need this additional help with the chelation therapy. If you feel sick, it's another reason why people don't feel well when they first start fasting is because they didn't have the fat drink to help them, right? They're just trying to drink water, go cold turkey, and because they're metabolically inflexible, they're not able to burn fat for energy, so they feel miserable. If you add the fat boosted drink, that's going to help a lot. If that's not enough, add a collagen prebiotic fiber. If that's not enough, add an egg yolk. Just not the egg white, because you don't want the protein. That will spike your insulin. Try an egg yolk, blend it all together, and you will feel much, much better, okay? And not as sick. Well, if I've got cravings, mood swings, help, Steve. A lot of time, people who are metabolically inflexible, they don't produce enough serotonin. The gut is shredded. It just majority of your serotonin in the body, the feel-good neuromodulator, is actually produced in your gut. And when your gut is terrible, you're not going to produce enough. So you need a little bit of help. And that creates often mood swings, and sometimes fasting make that a lot worse. You can try and look into a supplement like 5-HTP or L-tryptophan. These are serotonin precursors. Just think of them as like assembly blocks of serotonin, and this will help you feel a lot better and less. It reduces the craving. That's one way. Of course, you can always add the fat booster drink, right? For this is also great for managing craving, just to get you to transition to be able to hold or delay your breakfast till later in the day, or skip it altogether. And you feel satiated, you're not going to get the mood swing. If one is not enough, have 2 cups. Okay, so that is okay. What I also love is a shot of extra virgin fresh olive oil. The olive oil is in the Mediterranean diet. They often start their day with a shot of olive oil. It's almost like every single thing they want olive oil, and we know the benefit of Mediterranean diet. There's a lot of research to show a lot of that comes from the olive oil, but it has to be fresh, right? Just make sure you get extra virgin from a trusted source. A lot of American olive oil are contaminated with seed oil or fillers. They're not authentic. Don't buy the junk, buy the good stuff. Have a shot, you'll feel great, right? You feel much more satiated. It's a little bit weird to be drinking fat, but once you get used to it, it's actually good. It's like wine. The first time you try wine, it's like, yeah. But then you start to appreciate the finesse, the subtle notes of berries and peppery and organic, all the wine terms that people use. People do taste fresh olive oil like that, and it will make you feel good. Okay, we've covered quite a bit in this module. What is the take-home action? What do I want you to do? Make it real. Share in the community what you learn about fasting. And when do you decide to give fasting a try? Make that commitment and share your experience. That's how we can create change. And ask any question in the community. Okay, so that's today's module about cyclical fasting. It is the #1 play in the warrior diet. We're biohacking your diet. We're going to introduce fasting. It will make a difference to your performance. Have a go, and I'll see you in the next play, in the next module. Take care.